You can't ever rule that out. There was violence in 1776, you know? People got...
Oh, 1776 has been mentioned. It didn't take that long this time.
Enough of it.
America's with elections deniers on the ballot. I want to touch in like the biggest problem why there is such huge divide and problems with elections and believing that the elections are like the results are true, and the belief of like conspiracies to rigging elections. The reason why that's so high in the United States is the only reason why that's so high in the United States is actually because of the two-party system. If they didn't have the two-party systems, they wouldn't be so fucking divided.
Shifting demographics and cultural standards were already making many white Americans feel threatened long before Donald Trump played to their fears like a mice.
59% of Republicans and 46% of whites said that the majority non-white population would weaken Americans' culture. Like, yeah, I think that's rooted into that belief system, that like nationalist belief system. That's why it's so fucking weak, is because it can be fractured by the idea of a different culture coming to your nation, instead of like seeing it from a bigger picture, that the world is evolving all the time. So there is no fucking reason why you should like hang on to one nationality, one culture so fucking hard, because people change, people travel, people move. The only thing you will create by hanging on to a singularity is division. You would just alienate a lot of people, and basically alienate also like the rest of the world from you, because you're so hung up on one thing. Let's go here instead.
The stakes for democracy are higher than ever this election cycle.
I don't understand why Democrats and the left want to paint this like that there's a huge like threat to democracy if the opposing side wins. Because if you are willing to accept that you won an election, you should be willing to accept that the other side might win too, and respect the democratic election results. So I don't understand why they are baiting that if the other side wins, it's a threat to democracy, because it's actually that statement in itself is a threat to democracy.
Especially in crucial swing states like Arizona. Bad faith conspiracy peddling has produced a slate of Republican midterm candidates at all levels who still denied 2020 and are already casting doubt on the upcoming ones. Election watchers see recent incidents of political violence that already have...
I can like, just watching the crowd, I can see from the crowd itself that I know exactly who they are voting, especially like a few of them. Especially, okay, I have to say, especially I know who this Karen is voting. That Karen is actually, it looks like he doesn't want other race people living next to her. The same goes for probably her.
Law enforcement worried.
There's a specific feature of a person, certain features of a person that you can actually see that that they don't really like a certain group of people.
Gubernatorial candidate Carrie Lake, a former local television anchor turned GOP rock star, says the 2020 election was stolen.
Hello, everyone. My God. We have to get a red wave in November, and then we got to vote that bumbling fool out of the White House.
And Senate hopeful Blake Masters has already laid the groundwork to question his own race.
When I told my dad that I wanted to run for Senate, he didn't want me to. He didn't want me to because he's really concerned about our elections. Is anyone concerned about our elections?
Yeah, I don't want them taking away my guns, taking away my 4x4s. I like to burn oil on my yard. None of the fucking electric shit. We don't like your kind here.
Do you trust the election will be conducted fairly here? Well, we tried to ask Blake Masters a question. We got kind of shuttled off, so I don't know. We'll wait. I think we're allowed to be here, so we'll just hang.
They are really listening to Michael Jackson there. That's baffling.
Hang out and see.
Masters refused to take my questions, and Lake's staff kept us away. But the next day, Lake appeared on CNN.
Of course.
You accept the results of your election in November.
I'm going to win the election and I will accept that result.
If you lose, will you accept that?
I'm going to win the election and I will accept that result.
Oh my fucking god. A talking head. That's the Hillary defense. Don't use the Hillary defense.
For the last 2 years, election denialism has run rampant here.
The Fox News Decision Desk is calling Arizona for Joe Biden. That is a big get.
In 2020, former President Donald Trump raged when Arizona was finally called for Biden. Later, state GOP officials attempted to send fake electors to the Electoral College. It's a part of the coup attempt that the January 6th committee and the Justice Department are investigating. And a group with no relevant experience called the Cyber Ninjas started a lengthy process to find errors in the last presidential results. Instead, they found that Biden had, in fact, won the state. The effect of all these lies has been to completely undermine people's faith in the mechanics of the upcoming elections.
I truly believe that the 2020 election was stolen.
I think it's like great that these people were had to recognize them easier. I think it's better for everyone. That if you need to talk to a person like this, you need to like be wary of certain subjects. For example, science, religion, and also you can't talk about electric cars or renewable energy. Why would you fucking wear a hat like that?
I believe that President Trump is our unofficial president.
When you go into the ballot box, what's the top thing you're thinking about?
It should be paper ballot only, no machines, no electronics, no nothing. It's got to be same day voting. It should have photo ID.
I think that like that paints picture perfectly. Like I've been thinking about how to describe the difference between Republicans and Democrats, and I have to say Republicans. This is how I would describe them. Neither of them are good. I want to point out, like they are basically the same, and I think the two-party system is actually benefiting no one in the United States. But Republicans don't want change. Even though they say make America great again, the thing that they're talking about is turning the clock backwards to a time that was great among them, like what they thought to be a great time, like probably in the 80s, 70s, 60s. They want to turn the clock backwards. They hate change. And that's the biggest trope they have. They can't stand change. Because one, they don't understand change. Two, change requires them to do something. And also, like, the people who benefit from the change are actually like the poor and the people they don't deem human. All right, what about Democrats? Well, Democrats, the people who vote Democrats want change, but the leaders of the Democrats don't want change. So the biggest, and they're also fucking idiots. The biggest difference between Republicans and Democrats is the Republicans, the voters and the leaders don't want change. Democrats, the voters want change, but the leaders don't want change. And I think the Democrats, the leaders of the Democrats and the candidates of the Democrats lie to their voters way more than Republicans. Why do I believe this? The Democrats lie to their voters that they will make all the changes that the voters want. And they are not going through with any of them. Republicans say that, hey, we won't promise you anything. We're going to go back in time to the time you thought it was all sunshine and rainbows. And they are like, okay, we're done with that. A lot of Republicans think that at least we know that our candidates are speaking the truth. Like, they don't like minorities. They don't think immigrants should, like, illegal immigrants should exist. They want more guns. They want more fucking death. More war. The usual stuff. No renewable energy, all just coal and oil. Go backwards in time. But at least their candidates aren't lying to the voters. Unlike Democrats. The Democratic candidates only lie to their voters. Because they know that, well, because they are different colored, red and blue, than the Republicans. The Republican voters won't vote for them because they are on Team Red, even though the candidates of Team Red and Team Blue doesn't really, there's no difference between them. But the Team Blue candidates need to say that they're different from the Team Red so that they can get the voters of Team Blue to vote them. It's a fucking game. It's a game for them.
And vote in person. Stand in line. That's how you get your votes counted. Don't mail it in.
Yeah, because fuck technology. Yeah, fuck the future. Fuck change. You need to stand in line. All 300 and something, I don't know how many voting age people there are in the United States, probably close to 150 to 200 million. They need to all stand in line at the same time. Nobody goes to work, nobody do anything. They will just stand in line until it's their time. If it takes 20 hours or more, tough luck, cookie. Come earlier next year. Just like in the fucking Black Friday riots.
Right-wing groups have made
Army
Arizona
vigilantes are
focus of the
monitoring Fallout
2022
drop boxes in
midterm
Arizona now.
including
Nice.
recruiting poll watchers, which could intimidate voters. Individuals armed and dressed in tactical gear and covered faces were
Yeah, I have to point out that these guys also are pro-life. That doesn't look that pro-life to me, to be honest. They are watching ballots where you drop your votes in. So there won't be no, I don't know, lying or making fake votes or something. Fixing the voting again, which didn't happen, but those fucking idiots think it did.
monitoring ballot drop boxes. 6 cases of alleged voter intimidation have been referred to the Department.
Now it is.
What?
I was about to say that the video is not in YouTube yet, but I just got the notification that it is. Because I wrote the whole video on YouTube.
Yeah, it is now, yeah. 6 cases of alleged Arizona voter intimidation referred to DOJ. Nice.
of Justice. And Mark Fincham, a state lawmaker with ties to the militia group The Oath Keepers, who is outside the Capitol on
The
January
Oath
6th,
Keepers.
is now running to oversee elections as Secretary of State.
Do you think that stuff could turn violent here in this state?
I feel that there might be some violence because...
If I told you, my dear wife, that these two gentlemen doesn't like technology and change, would it surprise you? They think everybody should stand in line and only paper votes. No computers, no...
These gentlemen look like they think that women should only cook and clean.
I don't know if you heard, but my wife said that these gentlemen look like they think women should only cook and clean, which is probably true.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you heard my description of like Republicans and Democrats. I've been thinking about this quite a lot, like how to, because a lot of Finns doesn't follow like American elections or American politics, but I would describe Republicans and Democrats like Republicans, the voters and the leaders, the candidates don't want change. They hate change and then they think everything was better back in the 60s, 70s. Democrats, the voters want change, but the candidates and the leaders don't want change. But yeah, it's going to be a fun election. These guys look like the kind of guys I don't want to live next to, and they wouldn't probably let me next to them.
You have a long hair.
I have long hair, and that's, yeah. They would deem me a hippie without knowing anything about me. They would say I'm a hippie and probably a draft deflector. But then I would come back with, well, Trump deflected the draft also, so... But they are like, yeah, that's fake news. Trump was like a war hero and got 3 Medal of Honors and is a 5-star general.
Those people in Arizona are not going to put up with these people coming in and destroying property. And
the funny thing is, he's talking about people of Arizona won't like take shit if things happen. He's talking like the majority of the people of Arizona didn't just vote blue in the last elections. He's still thinking like the majority of people of Arizona. Oh yeah, because these doesn't believe that the voting was like fair. These are thinking the voting was rigged. that Trump is their president.
Fires and doing what they want to do, marching down and hurting things, so they might fight back.
Can there be violence?
Are these also the people that claim that others are sheep following?
Yeah.
You can't ever rule that out. There was violence in 1776. You know, people got.
1776 has been mentioned. It didn't take that long this time.
Enough of it.
You're administering this election as the Secretary of State, as well as running for governor right now.
Yeah.
How are you keeping those interests separate right now?
Yeah, I am 100% focused on the process and making sure that every eligible Arizonan has the ability to participate.
Okay, you should never judge a book by its cover, but this Democratic candidate looks like a Karen, and I wouldn't probably vote her. Just based on like she looks and sounds like a Karen. I don't know the candidate from the Republicans. I would probably vote if there was a third party in Arizona. I would vote for her, them, just because.
It's not my concern.
Will you accept the election results here in Arizona?
Absolutely, yes.
What are the stakes of this election here in Arizona? How important is this?
Yeah, I mean, I know no one wants to keep talking about the 2020 election, but here we are. And we saw what happened when an elected leader refused to accept the peaceful transition of power, and he incited an insurrection on our capital and on our country. And that is what's at stake this election, because
the challenges
the former
sucks. Yeah.
president has endorsed all these candidates because he wants them in control, so that no matter what the voters say in 2024, these folks will work to declare him the winner.
I see you have some security.
Is Trump going to run in 2024? Has he said that he's going to?
No, but Kanye West is.
Yeah, I know Kanye West is going to run. A new world order, I think. But midterms are going to be interesting, like, to see how it goes. I think Republicans are going to win the majority of the states. And that's going to be interesting for a lot of people in America, like, to see how they react to that. But it's going to be a cruel awakening for the red people to notice that it's not going to be any better.
Security with you. I'm wondering what the threat presence is for you right now. Are you getting threats as you campaign for governor here?
Yeah, pretty much everywhere I go, there's some risks, so yeah.
Did you think that that would be part of the job?
No, I mean, obviously when you are elected governor, there's a assigned state security detail. I did not anticipate it in this capacity, no.
And that's one of the biggest differences between European and European politicians and politics and American politics and politicians. Like, in Europe, you can be relatively safe as a politician to walk among quote unquote normal people. Of course, in Finland, for example, we have had like close cases, like almost violence toward politicians, but 99.999% of the time you are free to walk and go to, for example, a normal grocery store or just take your kids to school or anything. Our president went to fucking pond hockey with a bunch of kids in Helsinki in the middle of an evening, like a normal fucking workday evening. Our president was playing pond hockey with them, like without any notice. He just decided to. He was going to skate there anyway, so he went there to skate, and he saw that they were playing, and he asked if he could borrow one of their sticks, and started playing with them. Imagine if one of them would have body checked the president.
Harassment as someone who helps oversee the county's elections.
We had orange jumpsuits sent here last year to my colleagues and I because we belong in prison. We've had people call into the office, say that I deserve an Alabama necktie. The Arizona State Senate came within one vote of jailing my colleagues and I for not turning over the ballots and the tabulation machines. So we were concerned that folks would come to kind of, do a citizen's arrest.
One of the big things that has spurred some of the conspiracies around the 2020 election was how long it took to call some of the states.
When do you expect that voters here in Arizona will know the results of the midterm elections?
It does take several days for the votes to be counted, to get a final count. And the reason for that is that in addition to people who vote on election day, we also have the early voting. And if someone mails their ballot in, if we receive it by election day, we will accept it. So by definition, it takes several days. So I don't know when we'll know. I anticipate some of these races may be close, but we ask people to be patient because it's more important that we get it right than that we get it done fast. We've got this coalition of local law enforcement, Homeland Security, FBI, working very closely. I'm not going to go into the details of how we're accomplishing that, but I can tell you we're more focused on that than we've ever been before. And we will deal very swiftly, and people need to understand that if they think they're going to go to the polling places to intimidate folks in an unlawful way, it will not be tolerated.
It has to be zero tolerance. If there is the perception there's a weak link that can be breached, then they'll take advantage of it and it becomes contagious, kind of like what we saw at the Capitol. I have dedicated more resources to this need than any time in our history. We have prepared in levels, we have a strategy and we have tactics to ensure that we have plainclothes deputies who are going to be in areas where you don't realize that they're there, but they're keeping an eye on things. I want everybody in the community to think that when they're at a polling site, someone is watching out for public safety, whether it exists or not. But we will be in a lot of places majority of the time.
Yeah, that's gonna give like ammunition for the far right lunatics who believe in voting conspiracies, because they will see the police officers and the sheriffs, like deputies and other, close to the voting, and they will try and spin that around like they are here to stop from honest citizens to vote or something. Trust me, they are definitely going to try and spin that around.
Do you feel like you need to go protect some of these ballot drop box locations because there are groups, conservative groups, that have said that they're going to monitor what's happening there? And is it intimidating people to the point where you now have to monitor these drop boxes as well?
Absolutely, it's become our responsibility, and that's unfortunate because it draws resources away from other areas of need. And there are a lot of folks who, some well-intended, some with bad intentions, who suddenly feel empowered. Truth be told, there is no end game to that action that suddenly makes democracy a better place to exist. Democracy is very fragile. It is a day-by-day proposition. And if law enforcement doesn't take steps to protect that aspect of our nation, then democracy can very easily be broken.
I would actually disagree with that. Like, I think democracy is really fucking powerful. Because if you know anything about democracy, how it became, it was by force. And that's why democracy is really fucking powerful, because it can break through chains and blossom, just like it did in France. And that was the birth of democracy. Well, you can argue that Greeks had democracy and the Romans had democracy, but like France was the first real democracy there was, and that was through violence, a lot of it.